Welcome everyone. I hope you sleep well. Workplace Pride, in collaboration with Elsevier and Student Pride in Netherlands, is organizing this event this morning. My name is Chantal van der Putten and I am the chairman of Student Pride in Netherlands. We have a fantastic program for you, but I will start with the technical part first. This session is being recorded, so the show can be watched later. Check the CC Live transcript if you like some subtitles. So you can see that at the bottom of your screen, at the right of the record button, and you can push that button if you like subtitles. We want also some interaction, so you can type your questions in the Q&A. Questions will be discussed at the end of the show. And also, you can please put the planned Purple Friday activities in your organization in the chat. And then at the end of the meeting, we can share the activities with all of us. And now I will introduce you to the speakers. First, Michiel Kolman. He is the co-chair of Workplace Pride, and he will tell you about the significance and importance of Purple Friday. After that, we have the Purple Friday quiz, and I will be your quiz master. Jojanekke van Toorn, she will explain the facts of the quiz after that, and she holds the Workplace Pride chair at Leiden University, and she is professor of LGBTIQ+ workplace inclusion. Aditya, Srivastava, and Ruben Hoving from Deloitte will tell you about Purple Friday in the corporate setting. And last but not least, Vinod Subramaniam. Oh, I'm so sorry. Vinod Subramaniam. He is the president of Twente University, and he will tell you about Purple Friday at universities. And then we have some reflections, and that's about what you send us in the Q&A. So we can give answers on your questions. And we can give you the activities that will be organized today when everyone put that in the chat. And then Nanne, she will, Nanne Uffen. Nanne makes a drawing of this meeting. And at the end of the meeting, she will give a resume of the program based on the drawing. And then we have the end of the show. So yeah. We are very excited that we are with 50 people now. So we are very happy to be here with everyone this morning, this special morning, Purple Friday. And first now I will give, the floor is yours, Michiel.
Yes, thank you, Chantal, and good morning, everybody. I know it's bright and early, but we are here for a very important topic. So we live in turbulent times in the middle of a pandemic, which affects actually vulnerable minorities more than anyone else. And that definitely includes the LGBTIQ+ community. We also live in a political climate which is harsh around the world. And that's especially where populist politicians are targeting our community for their own political gains. In that light, it's ever more important that we can be all ourselves in the workplace, at our universities, in the lecture halls, and at our labs. And even in a modern society like the Netherlands, it's not always easy to be LGBTIQ+ at work. 37% actually report discrimination. And we see also a consistent pattern where some people go back in the closet after they graduate and when they enter the workforce. To this end, an inclusive and supportive culture at work at our universities is crucial. And this cannot be achieved by the LGBTIQ+ community alone. It is crucial to get the majority on board. And Purple Friday is the day par excellence to show this positive connection between members of the LGBTIQ community and our allies. And I took some inspiration from the Purple Manifest from LUMC. And it's about allyship. Allyship is not simply signing up and adding a rainbow to your email signature, although that would be a great start. It's also not mentioning your pronouns, although that also would be great. But what we're looking for here is active allyship, allies that get involved. allies that create a safe space, that address social safety and psychological safety in the places where we work and where we learn. Allies that reach out to members of the LGBTIQ community and engage with them, that actively try to understand the issues that LGBTIQ students, employees, and faculty members face and how they can help. We're looking for allies that get involved in raising the visibility of the LGBTIQ community, help organize events with student pride or the employee resource groups. We want allies that think along, that may think about the policies at our universities and companies, for instance, around transition leave or all gender toilets. These allies is what we need. We need them on Purple Friday. We need them on every Friday. In fact, we need them every day of the week. Thank you. Over to you, Chantal.
Thank you. Just in time. Thank you so much, Michiel. Now we will go to the Purple Friday quiz, and that's a little bit exciting because I have to put some buttons now. I will do that first, and then I will share the screen. The breakfast session Purple Friday quiz. How many individuals in the Netherlands identify as LGBTIQ+? Okay. Very good. Okay, Marijn is doing it very well. Why do we celebrate Purple Friday in the Netherlands? So everyone can show solidarity with the LGBTIQ+ community, because the Dutch love the color purple, especially on Fridays. We want to celebrate people coming out as LGBTIQ+, or all the answers are all correct. Yeah, only 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, very good, very good. I'm very curious who is the one who thinks that the Dutch love the color purple, especially on Fridays, but very good, everyone. And Elsa, she is on top, perfect. What is the meaning of the color purple in the rainbow flag? Is that harmony, healing, spirit, or peace? Harmony, healing, spirit, or peace? Only 5 seconds left. Yes. Spirit, very good, very good. Oh, Elsa is really good this morning. True or false? Straight people do not talk about their sexual orientation at university or at work. Is that true or is that false? True or false? Very good. And Jojanekke will tell you about this topic after the quiz. And Elsa, still going strong. Very good, Elsa. The last question, being able to be your true self and having a sense of belonging at your study or work is associated with reduced stress, greater commitment, lower intentions to leave the university or workplace, or answers E, B, and C are all correct. Wow, really, really good. You are very good. And now we see who is the winner. Gert-Jan, the 3rd place. Cedric, second. And I think Elsa, I think, but we don't know. Yes, Elsa. Congratulations. Very, very good. You're the best. But also congratulations to Cedric and Gert-Jan, of course. Now, Jojanekke, she will tell us about the answers of the quiz and especially the last two questions, question 4 and 5. Jojanekke, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Chantal. So indeed, people might think that heterosexuals do not talk about their sexual orientation at work, but of course this is false because people simply talk a lot about their sexual orientation at work, anywhere, indirectly, by talking about their relationships, by talking about what they did on the weekend, etc. So yeah, it's not something that's beholden to LGBTIQ+ individuals. And I think you all knew this very well. So I'm interested in this because I think people tend to assume that it's unprofessional to talk about your sexual orientation at work, but we do not realize how often actually we give this away. And thus, we also do not realize how hard it is not to talk about your sexual orientation and what a struggle it can be for people who are closeted to avoid this topic if they're in a relationship or dating or simply, talk about their preferences. So that's the point of that quiz question. Do I need to say more? Chantal?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, is that enough facts?
Yeah, I think so. Or are there people who need more facts?
Well, maybe one more fact is that there is some research that shows that heterosexuals actually do not feel that there should be much room for LGBTIQ+ people to talk about their sexual orientation. So that could be an additional thing. And I think it would be good for people to realize how it's hard to talk about your personal life if you cannot talk about your relationships, etc. So it's simply part of bringing your whole self to work or to your studies, and it's hard to be closeted. Yeah, and that brings us to the next question.
Yes.
Right, which is about what are the consequences of not being able to be yourself at work or not having a sense of belonging? These are the two aspects of inclusion. And indeed, all the answers were correct because it has a lot of negative consequences if you cannot be yourself at work and if you do not feel belonging. And in our own research even, we see that indeed being yourself is related to reduced work-related stress, reduced turnover intentions, which means your intention to leave the organization or the university. And the other thing, workplace satisfaction, commitment, work engagement, all these things play a role here. So it's really not just important for individuals if they can be themselves at work or at their studies, but also for the people around you and for the organization. It really has a lot of implications. There was a very nice column, I think, in NRC the other day by Cecile Janssens, who also talked about this in the workplace and how coming out brought along feeling just much more at ease and being able to do better work that way.
It was a great column.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what can people do? The other employees, the other students, the teachers or lecturers, what can they do for the LGBTIQ+ people?
Yeah, I think we have to realize that this issue plays at very different levels and all at the same time. So it's not just about being okay with people talking about their sexual orientations or asking people's pronouns, for example, right? It's also about how the organization is set up. It's about the curriculum that you offer. What are the examples in your textbooks? Do they ever include LGBTIQ+ people? And in what roles, right? We know Doudy van Veen, Judy Messman, among others, have really interesting research on school books. And they show that there's no LGBTIQ+ people featuring in these school books, which is amazing. So we need cases, we need teachers who are open role models. We need people to consider what is needed to create an inclusive classroom and an inclusive work environment. And as Michiel said, to really think along proactively, I think, before issues arise. As colleagues, we can question the implicit hetero norm that we have at work. So this idea that you're only talking about your sexual orientation if you're not heterosexual, or the idea that gender identity is irrelevant to the workplace, for example, or to your studies. It's all very relevant, and maybe indirectly through the relationships that we build and for the cooperation that we have with the people around us. But it's certainly relevant, and so we need to build a positive environment like that. And one of the things to do, I think, is to also ask the LGBTIQ plus colleagues and fellow students of what they think is the way to support them and to include them in the conversation. I think that's also oftentimes not happening, right? And that's what we're trying to achieve here, to really build a platform with Workplace Pride, with Student NL, so Student Pride NL. So I think, that's what we're hoping to achieve.
And what can do a day like Purple Friday for the community?
Well, let's ask the people here. I think for me, it's just a reminder that it's a very important issue. But as Michiel said, every day should be Purple Friday. So I think the symbolism is important, just like raising the flag on certain days in the year, just to remind people, hey, we're there, you know, this is an important issue. And let's reassess our own biases, etc. But maybe people in the audience can share through the chat what it means to them.
Yeah, so Mike or Christina, when you have some interesting things in the chat or in the Q&A, you can tell us. I can't see that now by myself, because otherwise I become crazy when I'm looking in the chat and in the Q&A at this moment. But when you have some interesting things, you can always share with us, or you can ask something.
So Elsa, of course, again, the first to respond, is saying that it's a conversation starter for people that would like to talk about this, but don't know how to bring it up. Can also be really heartwarming for closeted people to see their whole class wearing purple. I can imagine.
Yeah.
I put a link in of an article that Jojanekke and I wrote, actually talking about that LGBTIQ plus folks are not treated equally in the workplace, although it's a general understanding that they are. So it's you have to kind of set the record straight there.
Yeah.
Use that expression.
Yeah, we saw in our research, actually, when we asked, this was not student focused, but employee focused. We saw that when asked what employee traits are relevant to the workplace, sexual orientation was the least relevant in people's opinion. And interestingly, against what we had expected, we thought with this perceived relevance was going to correlate negatively with support for, positively with support for policies in the workplace, but it wasn't so clear. And we think because some people say, oh, it's not relevant because everybody can be themselves. And other people say, oh, it's not relevant because, you know, I don't want sexual orientation to be discussed in the workplace. And so it's both this negative side and this positive side. And it's really interesting puzzle. But I do think that we need to realize that it is more relevant, and that for majority members, this is not an issue. They have the privilege of being able to share freely and openly without realizing it, right? So that realization, that is, I think, what allies can do, to constantly realize, oh, I'm talking about this, and that's actually giving something away, and I didn't even feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, we come
Shiva
to
also.
end. Yeah.
Shiva also shared an interesting link. It's also a moment to remind CEOs and executive boards about our community needs and expectations. Alexander is sharing with us, which I very much agree with. And Gert-Jan is saying that when we're visible in schools and show support, often after our DMs of Instagram are bursting with questions of students. I think being visible as allies or queer people gives students a chance to ask questions and ask for help. I think this also helps in the workplace. Yeah, I'm sure that speaking for my own organization, Leiden University, Andrew is here. He can probably speak to that very well, how important it is to have networks that are visible, right? And that people can go for support and so on.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jojanekke. Yeah, it was a really short time this moment or this day, but I hope you will be part of us next time. Thank you so much. We will go to Aditya Srivastava and Ruben Hoving from Deloitte, and they will speak about Purple Friday in the corporate setting.
Right, thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Aditya Srivastava. I work at Deloitte. I'm very happy to join everybody here today on this beautiful morning, a little bit dark, but still hoping for sun to shine soon. About 3 years ago, when I was still a student at Erasmus University in Rotterdam, most like a lot of our audience members today, I was still in the closet, 25 years of age, almost unaware of the support out there available. Wonderful organizations, just like Student Pride or Workplace Pride being there for support. Did not think about coming out, did not even consider as something which was important at that point. When I ended my student life and started my professional career, that was the point where I started to slowly come out to my friends, colleagues, and also discovered a world of opportunities, a world of hope, a world full of nice people who are willing to support each other and help each other in their own personal struggles and journeys towards LGBTQI inclusion at workplace. When I started working at Deloitte, for example, I had my own share of concerns, doubts, and I always say that from day 2, I was sure that I was at the right place and I was in a safe environment. Day 2, because on day 1, I did not know much about what to expect. But it has indeed been a very interesting and rewarding journey to be at Deloitte. Also because of the background I come from, or coming from a country where homosexuality was criminalized until as recent as 2018. And the society continues to criminalize it and probably will do it for many more years to come. It has been very interesting for me to find the advocate in myself and also work with some very ambitious people at my organization and beyond to work towards a better and more inclusive society, a more inclusive organization or corporate culture, which we establish in the Netherlands. While I've been doing this, I've always had a few lessons or messages which I keep reinstating for myself and for my colleagues at Deloitte and friends across. And these I would want to shout out today as well. The first is that we should always be bold with the choices we make, bold with the causes we pick up and the battles we want to win. There's no fun or time in being not so bold and not being very ambitious. I think that is very key for all of us to have. The second is that we should always try and focus on outcomes and not just activities. We have at Deloitte, for example, within the Globe community, we experience always that we have a lot of ideas, a lot of ambitions, a lot of vision to bring change. Make sure that all our effort and time goes into outcome-driven activities and we do not limit ourselves into implementing certain activities which do not or will not yield results. Having said that, that transcends me to the third message, that change does take a lot of time. We have to be patient. Sometimes we see that we implement certain changes, certain policies, initiatives, where we do not see an outcome very soon. But that does not mean that the change will not happen. we need to be patient. We also have to allow the society around us, the ally community around us, the heterosexual community around us to adapt to the change which we want to bring in the society. And I think that requires a lot of patience and perseverance. So those are a few things which has helped me make sure that I stick to the mission and work along some of my colleagues and this community which we have present today. So that's my bit which I wanted to share today with everybody. I would ask Ruben to weigh in and carry on. Take it.
Yes, good morning. I'm Ruben, and I accounted at Deloitte. And the accountants are not per se known for their brightness and openness. They're quite conservative people, all the thing. But it's nice to be here and proud to be part of the Globe community. Aditya already shortly touched upon that. It is a community within Deloitte where all LGBTIQ plus people can join in, and we organize events and organize other things to embrace and empower our community. We also have a broad ally program, and especially today, which is a very important day for us, is that there is a broad message from the CEO and ExCo where they are announcing that they are allies of the Globe community. And they are requesting or asking people to join in as an ally to make more awareness around the subject. So that's Purple Friday for us at Deloitte today. In our Globe community, we actually have 3 pillars which we work towards. The first pillar will be empowerment, and the empowerment is towards our own people. We have the allyship program where we have communications with also outside our community, but allies that support our community. And then we have the external relations, and from this external relations concept of pillar, we are also here because this is not our business. We are outside of the business now, telling about how Deloitte is doing on this subject. And in these pillars, we organize nice things, and I would like to highlight 2 or 3 things. So the first thing about empowerment, but also about allyship, is our Pride boat. We every year for the past years, except for the Corona years, of course, we joined Amsterdam Pride with the beautiful boat, and showing and broadcasting our message to the world that Deloitte is an open workplace and that we embrace everything around diversity and inclusion, especially towards LGBTIQ plus people. Another one is maybe a smaller thing, but also very important, is that we have gender-neutral toilets on our offices. This can be a very difficult topic because some of the offices are not owned because they are rented, so you have to change the rental contract. But it's still nice, and the goal is to raise awareness. And there are conversations around this at the coffee corner, so to say, because people see the change in the office because they are on the location within the office. So that's nice that it engaged into conversation with people also not in the community, so to say. And another big thing I would like to is a new policy we have around the parenting policy, because if you are a same-sex couple, getting leave is somewhat more difficult sometimes, especially if you're 2 males, and none of us is pregnant. None of the males is pregnant, but you have additional leave that is wider than the Dutch laws require. It is really to embrace people to make a family and expand their family, and it is well supported within the community. And that is also something that we, as a Globe community, initiated and helped build around it. So those are the things I would like to share with you. I would say, like Aditya said as well, it's not about what we do, but it's about the goal, and the goal is to raise awareness and to have an open and inclusive environment at the workplace. And I hope everyone that works within Deloitte feels that way. And if not, they should reach out, because there are many people that want to help and want to have engaging conversations if you're struggling with anything. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And just in time, you are perfect. All of the guests are perfect this day. It's a really easy job for me to do so. Thank you so much. It was a wonderful story, a wonderful talk. And now we will go to Vinod Subramaniam. Oh my God. Vinod Subramaniam. And thank you so much for being here. And the floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chantal. I guess I've been invited to sort of speak on behalf of the university communities, but let's also be clear. I don't represent all of the universities, though I've seen many universities and have been involved with many of the colleagues. Yeah? So my name is Vinod Subramaniam. I'm the president of the University of Twente, where I've only been 3.5 months, or 3 months and 10 days. And I was 6 years at the Vrije Universiteit. But let me share a few observations and reflections with you, maybe, rather than go into what's this all about? Why are we doing this today? We're trying to show support, a little bit of allyship, but of course, I think it's a pity that we pick one day, this is something that you want to be doing continuously, and it's okay that we have a day such as this and that we stand up and show our colors, if you will, and purple. And the point is, I think it's good to reflect on that it at all is necessary to do this. Because that, it basically means that, we're trying to give each other a message saying that, hey, people, stand up, that we're not yet there in terms of diversity and inclusion. Michiel has already talked about it. In the article that you and Jojanekke also wrote in the workplace, it's not equal. Yeah. And I think one of the things that we tend to forget about is that, look, diversity, there's a couple of things which are visible. Yeah. You can see it in gender and you can see it in color, but it's so much more than that. There are so many invisible aspects of diversity that we tend to forget. And it's good to stand up and take notice and to say, hey, wait a minute, we need the role models. And I think Alexander in the chat, Alexander Serebrennik, who I happen to know because he's also in the committee that I chair over diversity and inclusion, says, hey, it's a day to also give a message to executive boards and CEOs. And I just realized that's me, about what we need. But what that says is that we're not having that conversation on a daily basis with each other in terms of asking colleagues, friends, what do you need? Are we there? Are we actually, providing for you what you need to be welcome and be part of whatever community you are, whether it's my university or in Jojannekke's term, in the Leiden or any other university or any workplace, So that's a continuous conversation that you need to have. And I think what I'm hearing a lot of you saying also is that it's not just something that you should leave to the community activists itself, or the people, but it's something that needs to be in the blood, the veins, the arteries of the organization, yeah, and that you have attention from the top management, but in a sense, in a real inclusive fashion, and the fact that we have to have an event like this is actually also telling us that we're not there yet, yeah, and so that's the message I take away. In a sense, is that we've got a lot more work to do, but we need to do it together, because ultimately, I think that's how we're going to get further is by having those open conversations, and making sure that we're asking the right questions, and sort of that we're being, well, three things maybe. One is we need to be kind to each other. Yeah, we need to stop being judgmental about whatever choices they are. Aditya already talked about his background. And where he comes from, and I totally understand that, because we share a common history, and I know what it's like in India, for example. Yeah, it's very different. So you have to, you sort of need to understand the cultural context and of where people are coming from, but also the cultural context of your own workplace, if you will, because we all have our local context and we say, oh, it's not quite as welcoming as we think it is. Yeah. I think as organizations, we need to keep asking the question, look, are we really as open as we think we are? You know, I think we all say we are very open and very welcoming. Ask the question, are you really that open? Are you really that welcoming? Yeah. And as an individual, what I try to do is to try to say, okay, how can I be not just a mentor, but a sponsor? How can you be an ally? I mean, not an ally also, you know, you want to be deeper than just an ally. Yeah. You also want to be able to be a sponsor of some of these things, where you actually basically say, hey, I'm here, and if you're in a position to change something, then we try to do that. So I think the message is speak up, speak out, yeah, and engage into that dialogue, because it is so critical to understand what people need. And I say people because the communities, you know, there are so many different types of diversity. What do each of these communities need? And it's our roles, you know, as at the workplace to make sure that we can actually truly make it inclusive. Yeah. And again, I want to hammer on the inclusiveness part, because, you know, the classic analogy is diversity is, you know, you get invited to the party, and inclusive, you get invited to dance, actually. And that's the issue, is that how do you actually make sure? And for me as a university, the question is, how do I really involve all of the diversity in my population, you know, be it students or colleagues, to make us a better place. Yeah. And if we're not doing that, we're leaving something on the table. We're not completely complete, and we're not being the best we can be. So that's the bottom line. Yeah. And okay, I'll leave it at that, and give it back to Chantal. And
thank you so much, Vinod. Maybe there are some questions for you, so then we can still speak about this. But thank you so much for your wonderful story, and a very inspireful story. First, I have a question for all of us. When there are some activities on your workplace or university, can you share it in the chat? So Christina can make a summary of this, and we can share it in the end of the show. For now, we'll go into the Q&A, and I need for the Q&A Mike. Mike is the Q&A guy this day.
Good morning.
So, good morning. Where are you?
I'm here. I'm only on voice.
Okay. Yes.
So I'll just read out a couple of questions. Thank you, everybody, for the questions and keeping it in the Q&A. First question is back to the world of academia in a way. In the classroom, how can this person, they say, be an advocate or ally? And the question's been answered by somebody. Just let me go back. How can they be an advocate and ally in the classroom, etc., and help out? For example, you know, this person anonymous says that they talk about their mark and their husband, but they want to know how to go further with this and be a further and deeper ally to the LGBTIQ community.
Maybe it's a good question for Jojanekke. Sorry.
I gave only a partial answer. So in the classroom, I think also things like stating your own pronouns and being a role model like that. Question is, should you then invite everybody to state their pronouns, or is that maybe at the start can be threatening to people? But at least say, I would like to use the correct pronouns. So please do let me know if I am making mistakes there, things like that. And of course, not just in your classroom, right? There's a lot that you can do outside of it that impacts students. So for example, having gender inclusive toilets in the building, making sure that other teachers follow suit, that they also feel that it's important to create this positive environment, perhaps have advocates from COC come to talk about the importance of LGBTIQ+ inclusion. I think this is already part of the curriculum. but to have that discussed again. So things like that, choosing your examples wisely, making sure that you also use literature or insights that are from LGBTIQ plus individuals, professionals, things like that. And I'm sure that the COC, because they have a lot of knowledge on this, also has good tips on their website. Start a GSA maybe at the school, the Gay Straight Alliance or the Gender and Sexuality Alliance. It's one of the evidence-based interventions that works.
Yes, yes. And also you can go to the website of studentpride.nl.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think
Jan just also shared the Jongeren van Space, the Youth of Space, the youth division of Donadaria for good input.
Yes, yes. Donadaria.nl, I think also. Yes. They have also good good tips. And Student Pride, the Netherlands has also a toolbox, also in English from this week on. So that's perfect. So now it's everyone can read it. So there are all places where you can find good tips.
Chantal, may I just add something to what Jojanekke said?
Mm-hmm.
She's also, I think, put it in the chat somewhere. You're going to have this conversation explicitly, you know. It has to be open. You have to ask the question. As leaders, we need to be asking the question openly, you know, and saying, hey, look, are we addressing the needs? Yeah. And those role models and the fact that you can actually have a conversation about it is very important. And you got to keep doing it so that then at some point it becomes a bit more accepted. And Jojanekke just said, you know, you have to sort of convince other people to do it, because sometimes you need to do that. Just because the one person is able to do it doesn't mean that the other colleague is able to. So you know, it's a bit of movement that needs to start and it needs to be nurtured, and it needs to continue and enter into those conversations. Yeah, I mean, something that I find that from my perspective and responsibility, you know, I call it the chefshaka. You know, I have to go and talk to it's about whether my community feels welcomed, you know, or members of my community. And it's not just necessarily the LGBTQI plus community. There's also other members, other aspects of diversity. And that means we have to pay attention to this, because otherwise your community is not going to be a happy community.
Yeah.
Another question, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Question specifically for Aditya at Deloitte, coming back to what he said earlier. Geert van Verboom asks, what do you consider to be bold choices? What Geert considers normal, others consider, you know, a different kind of level of bold, perhaps. Could you give an example of the boldest choice you made, Aditya?
Sure. I think by bold, I do not definitely mean that everything has to be in your face. So by bold, I really mean that we should make some ambitious choices with respect to the change we want to see around us, be it at university or at workplace or generally in society. And that I say because I have had a very short period of about 3 years of advocacy of what I can contribute towards change. And I have been restless myself in terms of the change I want to see around me and the change I want to feel and the results of the activities or initiatives I take. A recent example, for example, with what we did at Deloitte regarding the genderless or gender neutral toilets. It's something which has a lot of people supporting it and a lot of people questioning it as well. I call it a bold initiative or a policy because it's not just about the end results or the concept what happens after we implement these toilets. Of course, it's difficult to implement depending on a lot of lease situation. But the win for me in this bold move or bold initiative is that the conversations are happening, and conversation not happening just within these forums, but beyond. The allies are having conversation, the heterosexual community is having these conversations and questioning. And questioning is a good start. At least the word is getting out. And for me, that is something bold, that is something which is ambitious. And those are the things which we want to see more happening more often around us.
Oh, thank you so much for your answer.
Thank you.
Mike, are
Yes.
there any other questions?
Yes, lots of questions. This comes back to a more a local perspective, and this person asks, what can Dutch universities and schools learn from approaches in other countries in terms of LGBTIQ plus inclusion? So this is pretty much an open question to anybody on the panel.
Yeah. I think Vinod will say something. Vinod?
Yes. I can certainly say something to that. And that is that, look, I think as institutions, we should be open to learning. I mean, that's the reason why we're on the planet. And if we are not in a position to learn from other efforts, then we're not actually doing our jobs. So I mean, the thing that what I see happening within our own local context is people come up with ideas saying, "Hey, but I saw this somewhere else, and this is a good way to do it." And I think we should embrace those ideas, yeah, and try to introduce them. You have to always not worry, but consider the fact that you have a local context, yeah, and that could be, you know, whether you call it the Dutch context or your local institutional context, and that's fine. It just means a bit of fine tuning to make it work within that within your own context. But I think we should be absolutely open for it, and I hope that we are. Because the question sometimes maybe suggests that maybe we're not open for it, but in any case, we should be absolutely open for it.
Yes. Mike, do you think this is a good answer on the question? I think so.
Wonderful answer. Yes, thank you so much.
Yes, perfect.
Do we have time for another one?
Yes, we have time.
Okay, this is a good question from Shiba, and this question stems from a very personal situation, and they say they're happy to talk, but the primary question is what can be done in schools, primary and secondary level, both to make students feel more accepted and seen and happy. It seems to this person that they feel the need to protect LGBTIQ plus students a lot better, a lot more than we are currently. If there's damage and it begins early, then it's so much harder as an adult to address or fix that, perhaps. Can the panel speak to this thought and question, please?
Yeah, I see Jojanekke.
I started typing.
Yes,
yeah.
Jojanekke, you can come in.
I started typing already. I think it's a really good question. Shiva, you're absolutely right. I think what I see in my own environment with children in primary school is that they get anti-bullying training when they're 4 and until they're 6 about that. And then they still have the training in place, but they don't seem to really enact it in the classroom anymore. And that, I think, is where a very easy fix is to just continue that, because I know there is even digital anti-bullying training available, but I think schools sort of think that this is only important when the kids are really small and then they forget about it. Whereas the grounds for exclusion, of course, change as sexual development, gender identity development, etc., takes place. And so, issues of expression, I think, also increase when children grow up. So that, I think, is an easy thing to facilitate. And another thing is, and I think, but I'm talking about primary schools now, is that Rutgers has the Lentekriebel Week in the Netherlands, with lots of materials that schools can use in collaboration with parents even, and where you can do this throughout the year, I'm sure, but there's 1 week a year that there's a lot of attention to it, or maybe it's a month. So that, I think, is something that schools can easily incorporate. And all the other tips that we already discussed, right, about pronouns, about examples, about what textbooks do you use. And I now, as a parent, I see it very clearly that the labels that are used, somebody here, I think, also had an example of the kids being divided into boys and girls. Why do we have separate locker rooms? All these different things that play in the workplace are already there in schools. And that's why I think in the workplace, we find it so difficult to look around these issues, is because we're just so socialized from early on to think in this binary heteronormative way.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I think we have time for one last small question, and then we have to go to Nanne. So,
all right, just one more question. It's quite a good one, and if we can deal with it briefly. So Stephanie asks, what are the main priorities for the government that could and should focus on regarding inclusion and around LGBTIQ plus in the workplace and education in the coming years? What can the government kind of focus on to make that better?
would like you to say something about this?
Big
from
question.
The panel?
Sorry, I was still typing my answer to Shiva.
Oh.
What was the what was the question?
What the main priorities for perhaps the Dutch government and governments in general to do on focus and regarding inclusion, both in the workplace and education in the future? What do you think the Dutch government could start to think about?
I feel like Vinod could maybe answer that better than I can. But I would say really taking stock of what the current situation is. So this whole talk about we should not be identifying issues or counting who is where. I think we need data collection so that we can really target our interventions much better. Of course, while protecting people's privacy, but I really do think that this is an important issue. And we know that the government is very divided on this issue. So that would be my suggestion to.
I can only highlight that. Yeah, this is precisely the problem. The thing is that if you actually want to make interventions that are based on knowledge, then you have to have the data. But getting that data is a royal pain in the backside, because government is divided, the parliament is divided, so you cannot get some of the information. And I understand those, I understand the concerns about privacy, but without the data, without the monitoring, we will never be able to know, are we getting any better? So we need to find a way to figure out how we can do this in a safe, private manner, keeping into account the sensitivity of the subject, but without the data, we're sort of flying blind.
Yeah, I think that's a really good thing to tell us for now. We have to go to Nanne, Uffen, at this moment, because she made a really good drawing about this day. Nanne, can you show us what you make?
Yes, definitely. It's just a quick sketch because, there's so much information going around. So I will definitely finalize the drawing later on today, and it will be shared with everyone I understood. So I will share my screen now. So as you can see, I divided the drawing into the different speakers, and I tried to grasp all the main elements that were talked about. So on one side, we focused on pride in a corporate or working environment. And on the other side, we focused on pride in a more educational environment, so at universities or schools. And I tried to also add in the Q&A questions and try to fit it into the right pillars. So I hope this really works as a memory for this very special breakfast moment together, and I hope everyone finds it very interesting and informative. So yes.
Yes, thank you so much. And after this event in the afternoon, you can all see the drawing of Nanne, and we will share it on all our social media channels. For now, we will go to Christina because Christina has the catch of the day and she will show it to us. Christina, can you come in?
Yes, here I am.
Wow, you did it.
Sorry that it don't look so pretty as the drawing of Nanne, but this is the catch of the day. And
wow,
Vinod started it all with telling about what they are doing in the University of Twente. But then the Student Pride Toolbox, a lot of people brought in a lot of interesting things, like from the Erasmus Pride, Donna Daria, education at the TU Delft, requested all professors teaching today to show a slide with more information on Purple Friday. It's really exciting what I read here. So I'm going to think how we can bring this forward also to have examples for next year. Okay, thank you very much. This was it
thank you so much, Christina. It's so much. I'm so happy with this. Wow. And thank you everyone for sharing this with us. It's the end of the meeting, of the show. I think it was a perfect beginning of the Purple Friday. So I think we have to do this every year. I don't know if everyone is into it, but I love it at this time in the morning. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Vinod. Thank you, Aditya. Thank you, Ruben. Thank you, Nanne. Thank you, Jojanekke. Thank you, everyone. Michiel, Christina, Gina from the technique, Mike for the questions. And when I forgot someone, I'm so sorry. But thank you so much. And I hope I see you very soon. And check the Workplace Pride socials and the Student Pride socials for the summary of the meeting. Thank you so much and have a very good day.
Thank you.